The Principality of Erfurt was a small state in modern Thuringia, Germany, that existed from 1807 to 1814, comprising the modern city of Erfurt and the surrounding land. It was subordinate directly to Napoleon, the Emperor of the French, rather than being a part of the Confederation of the Rhine. After nearly 3 months of siege, the city fell to Prussian, Austrian and Russian forces. Having been mainly Prussian territory before the Napoleonic Wars, it was mainly restored to Prussia by the Congress of Vienna. Background and establishment. In the wake of the French Revolutionary Wars and the Treaty of Luneville, the Holy Roman Empire underwent a process of substantial territorial reorganization known as the German mediatization, under which Erfurt, since the 10th century a subject of the Electorate and Archbishopric of Mainz, was transferred to the Kingdom of Prussia. To compensate for territories Prussia lost to France on the left bank of the Rhine, fearing the rise in the power of Napoleon's First French Empire after the defeat of Austria and establishment of the French-sponsored Confederation of the Rhine, Prussia and Russia mobilized for a fresh campaign, and Prussian troops massed in Saxony as a part of the War of the Fourth Coalition. The twin battles of Jena and Austerlitz were fought on the 14th of October 1806 on the plateau west of the river Saale, between the Grande Armée Acute and the forces of Frederick William III of Prussia. The decisive defeat suffered by the Prussian army subjugated Prussia to the French Empire until the Sixth Coalition was formed in 1812. After Jena and Austerlitz, a large number of refugees appeared at the Prussian fortress of Erfurt. At first they were refused entrance, but later the gates were opened and soon the city thronged with at least 12,000 demoralized soldiers. Attempts were made by some officers to return the troops to the regiments, but the men refused to cooperate. Murat, Marshal of France, sent French Colonel Claude de Préville into Erfurt under a flag of truce. The Frenchmen demanded an immediate surrender, which the Prussian commandant initially refused. Karl August, Duke of Saxe-Weimar and Saxe-Eisenach, waited near Erfurt in the hope that large numbers of troops would join the retreat. When few did so, he withdrew toward Langensalza. Without support from Prussian General Feldmarschall Mollendorf, collapsed from injuries suffered at Austerlitz. The fortress commandant signed articles of capitulation. Included in the terms were the surrender of the Petersburg citadel and large quantities of gunpowder and munitions. Altogether, about 12,000 Prussian and Saxon troops under William VI, Prince of Orange-Nassau, became prisoners and 65 artillery pieces were captured. At the time of the capitulation, Murat had about 16,000 troops near Erfurt. Historian Francis Lorraine Petre remarked that Erfurt was the first of a series of pusillanimous capitulations by Prussian fortress commanders, writing that Napoleon's plans might have been delayed had the city held out for just a few days. Instead, the French emperor was able to immediately launch the entire army after his fleeing enemies. French rule. Erfurt was administered by a civilian and military senate under a French governor, based in the Kermeinsacher Statthalterei, previously the seat of city's governor under the Electorate. Napoleon first visited the Principality on the 23rd of July 1807, inspecting the citadels and fortifications. On the 4th of August 1807, Napoleon attached the Saxe-Weimar territory of Blankenhain and declared the Principality of Erfurt to be directly subordinate to himself as an imperial state domain. separate from the Confederation of the Rhine, which the surrounding Thuringian states had joined. On the 27th of September 1808, Napoleon was ceremonially presented the keys to the city at the Brûlurtor before going to meet Tsar Alexander I on the road to Weimar to re-enter the city with the Tsar. Between the 27th of September and the 14th of October 1808, Napoleon hosted the Congress of Erfurt in the Principality, intended to reaffirm the alliance with Tsar Alexander I concluded the previous year with the treaties of Tilsit following the end of the War of the Fourth Coalition. The meeting became a great conference involving an array of kings, princes, dukes, barons and notables from all over Europe, including the kings of Saxony, Bavaria, Württemberg and Westphalia. The resulting convention recognized the Russian conquests of Finland from Sweden and the Danubian principalities from the Ottoman Empire and stated that, should France go to war again with Austria, Russia should make common cause, though the Tsar's support in the War of the Fifth Coalition was minimal. During their administration, the French introduced street lighting and a tax on foreign horses to pay for maintaining the road surface. The Peterskirch suffered under the French occupation, with its inventory being auctioned off to other local churches, including the organ, bells and even the tower of the Corpus Christi Chapel, and the former monastery's library being donated to the University of Erfurt. Similarly, the Syriaxburg citadel was damaged by the French, with the city-side walls being partially dismantled in the hunt for imagined treasures for the convent, with workers being paid from the sale of the building materials. In 1811, to commemorate the birth of the Prince Imperial, a 70-foot ceremonial column of wood and plaster was erected on the Commune, on the instigation of the French administration and funded by the city treasury. Inaugurated on the 20th of March 1811, it was burned and destroyed by the citizenry on the 6th of January 1814, when the Sixth Coalition finally entered the city after over 2 months of siege. Similarly, the Napoleon's Hoa, a Greek-style temple topped by a winged Victory with shield, sword and lance and containing a bust of Napoleon sculpted by Friedrich Doll, was erected in the Stiegwald woods on the direction of the Senate President von Riesch. The design included a grotto with fountain and flower beds, using a large pond from the Peterskirch. Inaugurated with ceremony on the 14th of August 1811 after extravagant celebrations for Napoleon's birthday, with a eulogy on Napoleon being given by Riesch to little celebration from the citizenry. The French administration commissioned a painting of the temple from Nicolaus Dornheim in 1812, but it was burned on the 1st of November 1813 and completely destroyed by Erfurters and the besiegers in 1814. The celebrations of Napoleon's birthday were repeated in 1812, with a concert in the Prodigiekirche, conducted by Louis Spohr. Siege and fall. After his disastrous invasion of Russia, Napoleon briefly rested the remnants of the Grande Armée Acute in Erfurt on the 15th of December 1812, on the way back to France proper, with the Sixth Coalition forming after French defeat in Russia. On the 24th of February 1813, Napoleon ordered the Petersburg citadel to prepare for siege, visiting the city on the 25th of April to inspect the fortifications, in particular both citadels. The French authorities banned all burials in city cemeteries from the 26th of June 1813, setting up a single central cemetery in Johannisplatz, an arrangement that continued until the 9th of December 1816 after the city had been restored to Prussia. After the imposition of martial law on the Petersburg citadel in 1813, the Peterskirch was used as a warehouse and the Counts of Gleichen were reburied in Erfurt Cathedral. On the 10th of July 1813, Napoleon put in charge of the defences forces of Erfurt Brigadier General Alexandre Dalton, Baron of the Empire. However, when the French decreed that 1,000 men would be conscripted into the Grande Armée, the recruits were joined by other citizens in rioting on the 19th of July that led to 20 arrests, of whom 2 were sentenced to death by French court-martial. As a result, the French ordered the closure of all inns and alehouses. With the Sixth Coalition's decisive victory at Leipzig, French troops head to Erfurt. Napoleon visited on the 23rd of October, Erfurt being his only major weapons and storage depot east of the Rhine. Within a week of Leipzig, however, Erfurt was besieged by Prussian, Austrian and Russian troops under the command of Prussian Lt. Gen. von Kleist. Coalition shelling of the Petersburg citadel on the 6th of November caused substantial damage to districts to the north of the cathedral and the destruction of much of the monastery buildings on the Peterskirch. After a capitulation signed by Dalton on the 20th of December 1813, the French troops withdrew to the 2 fortresses of Petersburg and Syriacsburg, allowing for the coalition forces to march into Erfurt on the 6th of January 1814 through the Schmidtstädter Gate. To jubilant greetings, the Napoleon's all-ceremonial column was burned and destroyed as a symbol of the citizens' oppression under the French. After a call for volunteers 3 days later, 300 Erfurters joined the coalition armies in France. Finally, in May 1814, the French capitulated, with 1,700 French troops vacating the Petersburg and Syriacsburg fortresses. During the 2.5 months of siege, the mortality rate rose in the city greatly. 1,564 Erfurt citizens died in 1813, around 1,000 more than the previous year. After the Congress of Vienna, Erfurt was restored to Prussia on the 21st of June 1815, becoming the capital of one of the 3 districts of the new province of Saxony. But some southern and eastern parts of Erfurter lands joined Blankenhain in being transferred to the Grand Duchy of Saxe-Weimar-Eisenach the following September. Although enclosed by Thuringian territory in the west, south and east, the city remained part of the Prussian province of Saxony until 1944.